is going to talk about some other things that can happen with punctuation. And I was reminded because some of you wrote sentences like this in your last paper. So I just wanted to point this out to you. And one of the things that you'll notice about it, well, let me read it. Running down the street, the bus almost hit me. Think about it. Who is running down the street in this sentence? It's supposed to be me. So notice if I'm beginning with one of these ing, and a lot of you had these in your paper and they were really great, but then they're confusing. This is what people who study grammar would call this a misplaced modifier, because running down the street, if you begin with an ing thing, whoever is running needs to be the first word here. So running down the street, if it's I that am running, then I need to begin this part of the main sentence with I. So what I can say is I was almost hit by a bus. Notice the other way, running down the street, the bus almost hit me. The sentence is actually saying that the bus was running down the street. Okay. Frying chicken and making pies. My grandmother's kitchen smelled so good. And a lot of you got me really hungry writing things like this. But notice who's frying the chicken? It's your grandmother, not the kitchen itself, right? So this is another case of misplaced. So notice whenever you begin with this, so as you're fixing your papers, if you have some of these ing, some of you had ing fragments, like where you said frying chicken and making pies, period. So someone has to be doing it. So you can either fix it by saying, my grandmother was frying chicken and making pies in the kitchen, or I can say, if I want to keep the beginning like this, because I might want to do it for variety once in a while, I can say frying chicken and making pies. My grandmother was making the kitchen smell very good. Something like that. That's just off the top of my head. You could probably write a better sentence if you have more time. By the way, when you're revising, you always have time to make a better sentence. I want to talk about the third kind of words. We've talked about coordinating conjunctions. We've talked about the transitional expressions like however. So remember we had and. So if this, I'm bringing up this same sentence again because I want to look at all of the different things that we can do here. And I'm going to add the third one. Notice I brought my umbrella. I could put a semicolon here. It is raining. I could put a comma and here if I have the word and it works. But there's another thing that I can do. I can say, I brought my umbrella. What about if I want to use a word like because? And I can do this. And what I'm going to tell you, words like because, and write this in your notes, they're not coordinating conjunctions, they are subordinating conjunctions. Notice that if you wrote, because it is raining, that is now a fragment by itself. It depends on being stuck to a complete sentence. So if you have one of these, I may have told you in your paper, combine it with something that's near it. So I brought my umbrella because it is raining. With these, you can take them and flip them around the other way. And I can say, because it is raining, I brought my umbrella. Did you notice what I had to do here? When I flipped it around and began with the first word, when the first word, and a lot of you had sentences like that, when the first word is because, when the first word is when, or if, or after, or before, during, and I have if I say after the game was over, period, I have a fragment. If I say after the game was over, comma, we went home. Notice that you need to have commas there. Now, I know some of you are looking at this and saying, my teachers told me never to begin a sentence with because. I ask that to my classes every year. I think they were kind of lying to you, because if you were in your class, I know most of you read Romeo and Juliet, and if I asked you or your teacher asked you, hey, why did Romeo kill himself anyway? And on your test, you said, because he thought Juliet was dead, period. That's a fragment. But if you say, because Romeo thinks Juliet is dead, comma, he kills himself, then you're okay. So I think they were kind of lying to you because they did not want to hear you. They didn't want to see you writing fragments. Now I just want to review. Let's look at all the different things that you can do. I used to have this video called 5 ways to fix a comma splice. Like if you had put one of these together. So notice I brought my umbrella because it was raining. Notice that we can do, I brought my umbrella and I can do, you know, it is raining. I can do, I brought my umbrella. Sorry, I meant to do it the other way. I can do, it is raining. Let's use one of the coordinating conjunctions that you were memorizing. You should know. I could do, it is raining, so I brought my umbrella. I could simply, in my sentence, if I need to fix it, I can, instead of a semicolon, I can also put a period here. So there are a lot of different ways to punctuate sentences correctly. I can have a subordinating conjunction. Notice with a subordinating conjunction, there is no comma when it is in the middle of the sentence. When it begins the sentence, let me fix that. This doesn't work. I don't know what happened. I must have done a weird copy and paste there. It is raining, so I brought my umbrella. I brought my umbrella. It is raining. I can have semicolon with nothing. I can have a period. I can have the coordinating conjunction. Notice because it is raining, brought my umbrella, which I had up just a minute ago and it got messed up. But you can see when it's the first word, I'm going to have the comma out in the middle. So notice subordinating in the middle, no comma. When it's the first word of the sentence, it's not after the word, it is here out in the middle before the next sentence. Notice with the coordinating conjunction, I'm going to have a comma. Notice I can have just a semicolon if the sentences make sense together. And what I want to point out in course documents, open up the punctuation pattern sheet. Let me make this a little bit bigger on the screen for you. And you will notice here's a simple sentence. Independent clause just means it can stand alone. The house burned to the ground. Notice the house burned to the ground. The car was saved. We can use just a semicolon here. Notice she didn't study for the test. Therefore, comma, notice there's a semicolon before and a comma after. There are more of these expressions, but here are some of them. So notice you are memorizing the ones in number 4, and, but, or, nor, yet, so, for, or if you want to memorize them using the acronym fanboys, you can. Memorize these because they are different. So notice we have 3 different groups of words that all get punctuated differently. When we use this transitional expression, in between 2 sentences, we have to have a semicolon before it and a comma after. Words like therefore, however. When we use a word like but or so in that same exact place, we need a comma. In that same place, when we use a word like although, until, when, because, since, we're not going to use a comma when it's in the middle. Notice this number 8. She ran a mile, although she was hungry. Although she was hungry, she ran a mile. So notice that, sorry, that was my landline ringing. I don't feel like doing this whole video over again though. So you'll have to forgive me. So notice that this one sheet is going to be a place where you can go and you can get all of this information about how to punctuate correctly when you are joining sentences together. So watch this video, do the quiz. Make sure you take the practice quiz. It's a little bit earlier in the module, but go back and get the practice quizzes after you watch the videos before you take the quiz for the grade, and that will help you.